The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the MLB Gambling Podcast. I had to check my right shoulder to see what shirt I've got up behind me again. This is the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne, up in the northeast of England. Today is January the 18th, and we are here to have a look at the National League futures, news, odds, any picks we like, totals, departures, acquisitions, free agency trades, all of that malarkey. We tackled the AL last week, which the pod is available in all the usual places. And tonight is the turn of the National League. And here this week, I haven't spoken to him for ages. We were having a good chin wag before we started recording there. Is Mr. Dylan Rockford. D-Rock, how are you doing, man?
Oh, Malcolm, it's been a long time coming. How are you? First time in the new year, so happy new year to you and your family. I'm doing well. It's been, as the Grateful Dead says, I don't know if you know that band. It's been a long, strange trip, but excited to be with you and can't wait to talk about the National League. Yeah,
you've had some adventures, Dylan, haven't you, in the last few weeks? I mean, It's been hard to keep up with you on your Twitter feed, but you okay? Everything all right, son?
Yeah, everything's all right. And by the way, I love the background. I love the Nighthawk jersey. It's getting better every time we record. So I feel like come baseball season in a few months, it'll be even better.
Well, yours is kind of the gold standard on the network, on the entire network, Dylan. Your little mini corner studio there is the absolute gold standard. So mine looks a bit shit tonight, but it's better than
better than you had.
Better than me sitting through there slumped on the sofa. Is when we started streaming it, everyone kind of realised what a lazy pig I was. I've got a block of cheese that I'm eating.
I love it. You got some tea with you?
I've got a cup of tea and a great big lump of cheese. That's what's going on there.
Wow.
But today's news, Dylan, which has unsettled me slightly, is that as of today, I've got a teenage daughter, Dylan.
Oh, wow.
I know, yeah. So Betty
How does it feel?
Well, I don't know. I'm just going to hide for 7 years, I think. I mean, we'll find out. But the thing tonight was, obviously, we said we'd get birthday tea, a birthday dinner, you might call it. So of all the cuisines in the world, Dylan, of all the takeaways, of all the shops, of anything she could have had, what do you think she chose to have?
For dessert or for
no,
dinner?
Just a meal, yeah, for a birthday meal. Where did we go?
Mignon, some steak.
All of those were options. What she wanted,
soup.
Dylan, and she's not soup, not that bad. She stood right next to me actually because she's heard me talking about it. A Subway sandwich.
Oh wow!
I know, yeah. I mean,
I'm not a big Subway guy.
Oh,
I don't know if you have it over there, but Jersey Mike's got great subs.
I don't think we have Jersey Mike's, do we?
It's a
I've heard of it. No. I mean, a Subway sandwich, that's like a Thursday lunch. It's not even a Friday lunch. A Friday lunch, you get something better because it's Friday, you get something more fun. Like the Subways. So, yeah, mildly disappointed with that. But that's that. So, anyway, happy birthday to B. And, wish me thoughts and prayers go out to me for the next...
You'll be all
for
right.
the next few years. Yeah, you reckon?
And then what do they call it? Is it? I heard university's high school, correct?
University's still university.
Oh, okay.
That's when you're 18, yeah. But yeah, she's already in.
She's gonna do that.
Yeah, well, maybe. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, so we did the American League last week with Noah, and I really enjoyed it because I've been very soccer heavy before that. Done the World Cup. Transition that into the Premier League Gambling Podcast. Bump. Just get that in nice and early. Everyone who who follows soccer or wants to get into it, you'll find me and Barry on the Premier League Gambling Podcast. The Discord channel's good. We had another, I had another winner tonight. Manchester United and Crystal Palace under 2.5 goals, finished 1-1. So get across and give us a little help there. That's kind of like where all the Sports Gambling Podcast Network shows started. But I enjoyed looking at the baseball last week. It was, it judged me up for the new season. It piqued my interest and excitement, Dylan, because I say it'd been a little while since I'd looked at the baseball. So tonight, we've got the National League. We'll go team by team. We'll go kind of alphabetical order from the east to the central to the west. Before we get started, I'll tell you about our headline sponsor on the MLB Gambling Podcast, which is the WinBet, the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WinBet active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays. The NFL playoffs are here. Great promos, odds and payouts happening right now at WinBet. If you're ready to play, sign up to receive a special offer. Bet $100 to get $100, which is limited to state availability. And of course, if you're at the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you'll get a $1,000 free credit. Load to choose from. Head to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/winbet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer subject to change. T's and C's at winbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WinBet is available. If you or someone who has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. On the subject of the NFL playoffs, Dylan, before we move on, what happened to the Jets, man? I think the last time we spoke or had a chat, they were doing, I think they had a winning record. They'd won a few games and then they absolutely fell off a cliff. What happened to my boy, Zach Wilson?
Oh, no, he's the worst quarterback in the league. It's just painful to be a Jet fan right now. People say, it was a positive year. You went over your win total. You did better than everyone expected. But like you said, we were sitting there 7-4, maybe looking to go into the playoffs. And then you go 1-6, can't score a touchdown in 3 straight games. Offense looked abysmal. Painful to watch. It was like sitting on tooth and nails every freaking game I was watching. It's bad. Trust me. I hope we go for Lamar, to be honest. I really hope we get Lamar.
Sauce was good. I enjoyed him.
Oh, he's an all-pro. He's fantastic. That's the only bright spot. Him, Garrett Wilson. Our running game was pretty good. Breece Hall from what we saw. So there are some good pieces. Our defense is good. It's just we got to clean up the quarterback, and we also need an offensive line. So. And
how do you feel about my 100-1 Jacksonville Super Bowl ticket?
I think it was a nice run. I think they ran into Patrick Mahomes, but 100-1 is great value.
I went to bed a loser the other night, and I woke up a winner. They were toast, and then all of a sudden they were like Lazarus. They were back from the dead. My 100-1 rides into another Sunday.
For your book, are you allowed to cash out, like an early cash out option?
Yes, there will be. Yeah, it'll probably not be worth much at the minute. I wouldn't have thought, because they're probably still about 33-1 or something. There'll be a big price, won't they? But they kept me going anyway, because I backed the Jags and I backed the Lions. And actually, I thought the Lions were a bit unlucky not to make it into the playoffs. I had them both at 100-1. So
good win.
Baseball coming up though. We've got the World Baseball Classic, which starts in March. Me and Noah are going to get our teeth into that. But let's start our little journey around the National League with. We got the NL East. We'll start at the top with the Atlanta Braves. 10-1 for the World Series. They are plus 325 to win the league, and they are plus 140 for the NL East. Free agent departures for the Braves. The big one, obviously, was Dansby Swanson off to the Cubs. Kenley Jansen, Adam Duvall a bit lower down the list. We're kind of only including the important ones. Not going on forever. I mean, Noah went on forever last week. Noah was giving you single A prospect free agent signings straight out of high school.
You gotta love it, though.
Yeah, he went a bit deeper. The only acquisition I know, really, certainly off their free agency anyway, was Jordan Luplow, which isn't going to move the needle much. But they've traded for a few players. They've traded for Sean Murphy, the catcher, to help out Travis d'Arnaud there. Sam Hilliard from Colorado, he hit 209 last season. And then in the pen, the two was Joe Jimenez and Lucas Loetka, maybe, who were both just a little bit underwhelming, is what I've made really the Atlanta off-season. Obviously, they were great to start with, but like if you're not moving forward, you're staying still, and teams are going to move past you. I think the lineup looks okay, consistent, lots of power, lots of middling averages, and not much depth either.
Yeah.
I think a lot depends on Michael Harris. They need him to train on next season. He hit 22 bombs with 20 stolen bases, but I'm not really convinced about him for next season. The rotation looks above average without blowing my socks off. Need a little bit of improvement from Kyle Wright. Can Spencer Strider do what he did last season? And then you've got Mike Soroka with a big question mark next to him as well. So handicapping this team didn't inspire any kind of emotion in me, really, whether it was positive or negative. I didn't have an awful lot to do with the Atlanta Braves, so kind of just a gloss over them at this point. The total 94.5 is probably right. They certainly don't want to be anywhere near 100, but they are going to be a 90-plus team. So yeah, as far as a bet goes, to lead off this episode, the Atlanta Braves didn't interest me at all, did they?
Yeah, no, they didn't really go out and do too much. I think their rotation is above average. Max Fried, I do think, see how Soroka does coming off the injury. Uncle Charlie, he's getting old. Kyle Wright, we'll see if he could duplicate the year he had. Same thing with Spencer Strider. I think they need a little more depth. I like their bullpen. I like the addition of Sean Murphy. Matt Olson's good on first. Ozzie Osby is all right. I think they need to.
He was one more actually, along with Michael Harris, that had some injuries, and now can he move on to the level we thought he was going to get to? Yeah, that's a good pick out, Ozzie Albies.
And I do like Austin Riley. He's a good hitter. I do think they're going to miss Dansby Swanson a little more than they think. Vaughn Grissom, he's okay, but I don't think he's the level of Dan Swanson. Michael Harris Jr., he's good. They do have some depth, but I think what they need to add is more bullpen and more depth in the rotation. But yeah, not a real big offseason for the Braves.
Yeah, Vaughn Grissom was another one, a little bit like Michael Harris, that I wasn't hugely keen on. So yeah, like I say, Braves yet to show me enough to want to back them or fade them for that matter. Next up, Dylan, we'll throw this across to you. The Miami Marlins.
Miami Marlins, yeah.
That is a good noise to make.
Yeah, they're plus 10,000 for the World Series. It's 13th amongst the whole league. National League plus 4,000, tied for 7th, and they're dead last to win the NL at plus 4,000. They did get shortstop Gene Segura from the Marlins. I thought that was pretty good. They traded away Miguel Rojas to the Dodgers. They needed to replace Trey Turner. The Mets traded center field Jake Magnum to the Marlins, so got a little depth there. For their like strengths and weaknesses, I feel like Segura might play third, which I kind of like for them, to be honest. They traded Miguel Rojas to the Dodgers for the kid Jacob to play shortstop. John Birdie, I think he'll play second base. We love their pitching staff. We always said we like how they pitch. Bullpen's a little shaky, but I think their outfield, they're young now. Their best hitters are JJ Bradley and Peyton Purdick. I do like George Soler. They picked him up, but that's about it. The catcher position is weak. Nick Fortes, he's an average catcher, and I don't know. I definitely more weaknesses than strengths. Or win totals at 72.5, and I kind of think that's high. I would go under that before I go over. I don't trust it. I think they're young, inexperienced, and I think they need to add a few more bats. So I think they're a couple years away. So I would go under their win total right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Maybe I would have put it around about 70, so not a million miles away. The couple of names I noted down, you mentioned Gene Segura. He's a fun signing. He's a fun player, and he'll do okay. And the other one, really, with a bit of upside, is in the rotation, where Edward Cabrera, I think, is slated to start as kind of the SP5. Yeah. And I think he could have a good season. Talk about him in fantasy circles. So we'll just have to see if he can slot in, because it is their rotation that keeps them kind of competitive.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got your Cy Young winner, you've got Pablo Lopez, etc.
Who do you think the third starter would be on the Marlins? I think Edward Cabrera actually has a decent chance to be the third starter.
Yeah, I'm just Having a look
Luzardo,
at,
you got Trevor Rogers, Braxton Garrett.
yeah, it gets a bit ugly after that. I know Braxton
Yeah.
Garrett.
He had some nice
So,
outings last season, I remember.
yeah, he did. He was going to say he got quite a lot of airtime on the show, Braxton Garrett, in the last month or
Yeah, he
so
did.
of the season. Obviously, they picked up Johnny Cueto as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, no spring chicken. 30. He's going to be 37 years old, Johnny Cueto. But yeah, the names are okay. And Jesus Luzardo, I don't mind. So yeah, interesting to see. But that's a tough division as well. They're gonna see the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves an awful lot, which does sort of lean you towards that under 72.5. Next up, Dylan, we have to stay with you for this slot. Your very own New York Mets. Tell us how confident you are.
I was debating on wearing a Mets hat on the show today, but no, I decided not to. But we'll start that for opening day. But World Series plus 750, tied for third. National League tied for first with the Dodgers at plus 400. They are the first for the NL East at plus 135. So a lot of guys were free agents. They elected to go into free agents, but we were able to re-sign the best closer, Edwin Diaz. We went out. I think you and I discussed on the pod last month. We got Justin Verlander, David Robertson really is going to help our bullpen. We signed the lefty Jose Quintana. I think he'll maybe be the fourth, fifth starter. We re-signed Brandon Nimmo, Kodai Senga. That's going to be my new favorite player. I really like that guy. I think he'll probably be third in our rotation. We got a backup shortstop, Danny Manick. We re-signed Adam Ottavino. So we did a lot. I think it's arguable we have one of the best rotations in baseball. I think the catcher position actually improved as well. We got rid of James McCann. More of the pitchers actually preferred Thomas Nido. So then you add the number one prospect, Francisco Alvarez. We also added Omar Narvaez. So I think it's one of the best infields as well. They're deep. Correa would have put us over the top, but I think we're still fine at third base. We still have Ed Cabrera. We have Luis Guillermo. We have the young guy, Brett Beatty. So I think we're all right. It's just, Carlos Correa puts us over the top, I think, especially with the bat. But I don't guess a weakness I could think right now for the Mets is the lack of depth in the outfield. I don't like our DHs. I know we just got Tommy Pham today, but
I didn't see that.
Yeah, we got Tommy Pham. So I don't know if it automatically rules out Darren Ruff, but we got Volder back in that spot as well. Starling Marte, Thomas Nido, and Khalil Leal. Those are like really, and Mark Hanna. Those are our only outfielders. So I think we need to add another. I think we need to be more aggressive in the trade deadline this upcoming season. So that's what I would do the overview on the offseason. Our win total is at 95.5, and there's no reason why I don't think we could go over. We went over 100 wins last year, and 2/3 of the season we were out with our best pitcher and Jacob deGrom. So I think we added more than we lost. So I still like Buck Showalter. I still like the club. I like our bullpen. I like our power hitters. I do think we need to add another bat, but with the amount of money we spent on the pitching staff and our fielding, I like us to go over 95.5.
Yeah, absolutely. The Japanese guys who come, of course, you mentioned Kodai Senga, going to be your new favorite player. They seem to be so easy to root for. Just in so their attitude when they would like a press conference, clearly like a cultural thing. They're respectful, and we've seen it with Shohei and other players. Fun, but also respectful. And he's going to be great. So it is pretty much a new look rotation for them. They added some middle bullpen pieces as well. The lineup is very similar but stacked. They're going to be good. I think the slated projected one game higher than the Braves at the minute, but I would have that gap maybe a little bit bigger. I would maybe put that up to 4 or 5 games. Yeah. Putting the Mets somewhere near 98, 99 with Atlanta at 94. So yeah, the Mets to win that division for me. Did you say they were what price? About the same, plus 130.
Yeah, I got plus 135 for the division. I do like it. Hopefully we don't have a second half collapse like we did last season, because we were 15 games up, so we should have won the division. Don't know about National League, because I think you could get a better price in season on the National League.
Well, that was the trade deadline, really. They just need to do a better job. They picked up, you said Darren Ruff, and was Vogel back the other one, and say that outfield depth that you just mentioned, that's what they tried to address, and they got it wrong. Like, fair enough. This year, do better. Do you know what I mean? Learn from that,
100%.
and do a little bit better. So, we'll see. We'll see how that turns up. Next up, are the Washington Nationals. Wow, this was fun. Me and Noah handicapped some dog shit last week. The Tigers, and the Athletics, but there's some really bad stuff in here as well. World Series prices 350 to 1, 175 to 1 to win the league, 250 to 1 to win the NL East. So yeah, as the odds suggest, this was ugly. Free agent departures: Cesar Hernandez, Luke Voigt, Nelson Cruz. I mean, even the names are given out now. Anibal Sanchez is the other name I've jotted down. He got a lot of airtime in the last month of the pod, just because I turned him into Cy Young for his last 4 starts. I faded him. Yeah, exactly. And he couldn't stop winning. I've probably found him a contract somewhere. The extended Lane Thomas, Hunter Harvey, and Kyle Finnegan in the pen. Picked up Corey Dickerson. I don't mind. Jamer Candelario, who I quite like as well. He needs a better season. Dom Smith, I like, from the Mets.
Yeah.
And then Trevor Williams, again, another Met, which is just nothing. So yeah, the rotation's poor. Josiah Gray, we liked it last year, did okay. He could train on a little bit. And then Mackenzie Gore's another one who's got some upside. So if they're going to win any games, it's going to be behind those two. The lineup looks a bit better than last year for me, actually. The projected batting averages are serviceable. Then we've got some young guys to root for. CJ Abrams, who came across from San Diego, Luis Garcia. And the pen is absolutely horrible. Now, I wrote down, I might look at an over, and I did this like 2 days ago, and I put in brackets 62 without knowing, because I got Noah to send me these earlier on. So Washington are at 60.5. There you go. So the actual line is 60.5. I fancied 62. So yeah, I'd take a little over there. But it's still not much to get excited about. Did this for Baltimore last year, and smashed it. I don't think Washington are going to smash it, but I think they can do better than 60.5. But yeah, it's not an awful lot to get excited about, Dylan.
Yeah, no. Hopefully Steven Strasburg could come back healthy as well. You know, Patrick Corbin, we like to fade Patrick Corbin, but no, Josiah Gray, he's serviceable. Trevor Williams, I'm glad he got a contract. Same thing with Dom Smith. Mackenzie Gore's pretty good from San Diego they got, but yeah, their bullpen is the one thing. I wrote that down as well. It's very bad. So
it's horrible, isn't it?
You got to address it. They got to get some pieces. Catcher spot, I think, is kind of weak as well. Not a big fan. I do like CJ Abrams, excuse me, that they got. But other than that, Victor Robles, he's a good player. Other than that, they lack. I do like over the 60.5. That seems kind of, it's hard to lose. It's hard not to win 61 games, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, yeah. Finally, then, in the NL East, Dylan, the Philadelphia Phillies. What have you got?
Yes, sir. So I got the Philadelphia Phillies World Series plus 1,400. That's 5th in the league. National League plus 700. That's tied for 3rd. And the NL East also 3rd at plus 300. It's a stacked division as we're talking about it. You got the Braves, Mets, and Phillies all fighting for that number 1 spot. But I think they had a pretty good offseason. You know, they signed Trey Turner, one of the biggest splashes in the league. You got Taijuan Walker. I'm glad he winded up getting a nice deal because the Mets weren't going to pay him. Got Matt Strum. He's a bullpen reliever. I like him. Craig Kimball, they got a closer. We'll see how he does. The Tigers also traded left-hander Gregory Soto and Cody Clemens to the Phillies for Matt Verling, Nick Martin, and Donnie Stan. So they had a pretty active offseason, I would say. They have a pretty good rotation top to bottom, I would say. And infield, obviously Trey Turner. Second base, you have, looking at it, probably Bryson Scott, right? Would play. Alec Boehm is their third baseman. Obviously, JT Realmuto, he's one of the best catchers in the league, especially hitting wise. Left fielder, you got Kyle Schwarber. He's a beast. Brandon Marsh is okay, I would say, for center field. Nick Castellanos, he's all right. And then obviously you got Bryce Harper. He's a beast as well. So I do like their lineup. They have power up and down. Harper's still a force. I think their biggest weakness, and has been since Joe Girardi was there, is the bullpen. They did add Craig Kimbrell, but the jury's still up on him, I would say. So I think they need to add some more depth in the bullpen. Their win total sitting around 88.5. That's a lot of games. I know they went on that big run to the World Series last year, but I think some regression is going to come in. So with the familiar faces, I would go under 88.5.
Yeah, I mean, the Bryce Harper's had Tommy John surgery, and that's going to keep him out when you have the surgery in November. So that's always pretty much a full season, I think, isn't it? You're not going to see him next season. I thought the key for Philly was that they lost a couple of arms, and the top of the rotation is okay. Obviously, Nola and Wheeler. It's whether or not that 3-4-5. Of Taiwan Walker, Ranger Suarez, and Bailey Falter. Now, it's better than most. I get you. But is it good enough when you're going to have to compete with Atlanta and the New York Mets? So that's a tough ask. Philly did great last year. They came with a rattle and had a lot of fun in the playoffs. They were a fun team to follow. But yeah, it's the back end of that rotation for me. So
yeah,
not hugely convinced.
Is Taiwan Walker going to be the Taiwan Walker in the first half when he made the All-Star game, or is he going to be second half on the Mets Taiwan Walker? If he could be the first half, I think it's a nice serviceable 1, 2, 3 with Wheeler, Nola, and him. And even like you said, last year we were fans of Ranger Suarez. He was great. He was great. In some situations, there are good spots to back Ranger Suarez, but you're right. I think like 4 or 5, it kind of falls off a little.
So yeah, their total at 88.5. They're definitely, they look like a plus 500 team, but 88, it's probably about right. Like I would inch it under if I was making a line. I might go 87 or 86, but they're not miles away. So
no, trust me, Philly, you want that half if you're gonna bet. I won on the Padres last year. I think it was like 97.5, and I think they ended with 97. So the half will save you.
It's beautiful when you squeeze under the bar there. Okay, NL Central next up. We will go to the Milwaukee Brewers. And who's got the Milwaukee Brewers, Dylan? That's you. Hit me. Lead us off.
Sorry, I was on mute real quick. Yeah, Milwaukee Brewers, World Series, they're fourth, plus 4,000, tied for ninth. You have in the National League, plus 1,800, fifth. And then for the NL Central, they're second behind St. Louis at plus 145. So, they had they had a pretty active offseason. They traded Hunter Renfroe to the Angels for a bunch of arms. They got 2 right-handers and they got a left-hander. They also signed center fielder Blake Perkins as well. They traded their second baseman Colton Wong and cash to Seattle Mariner for Jesse Winker and Abram Toro. So they got some depth. What else did they do? Pittsburgh Pirates, they traded Bryce Wilson to the Milwaukee Brewers just for some cash. They just were like, here, have them. We don't want them anymore. They signed Wade Miley as well. So I like their starters, but they traded some pieces away, dating back to last season in the deadline. We even questioned it on the pod that, this is a team fighting for a playoff spot. Why are they trading some of their key pieces? But I don't know. They kind of have an average bullpen as well. They're deep at the catcher position. I do like that. They got about 4 catchers. First base, not really anything to die over, to be honest. Second base, like they got Adam Toro, excuse me. I think they're gonna put him at second. Shortstop, you got Willy Adames. He's a beast. I love Willy Adames. I think he could rake. Third base, you got Luis Rojas. I think he's okay. We'll see. Hopefully Christian Yelich has a bounce back year. We've been dying from that MVP year he had a few years ago. So hopefully he could get back into regular form. But Jesse Winker would be a nice DH. Maybe he'll play a little left field. But nothing like to ride home about. He's a good addition, but I don't know. I'm the jury's still out on this team. I think you put me onto them because last year I was very high on the Brewers with their rotation, but they were just doing very questionable things. And when I think I was on a pod with you kind of were out on them, and I always remembered that, and I kind of faded them towards the end of the season, and it was very profitable. And I think I'm going to fade them again. I think they're going to have another regression of a season. I think besides Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, I don't really trust anybody else. Like Freddie Peralta, he's iffy. Eric Lauer, I don't trust him. Adrian Hauser and Aaron Ashby. And I know they picked up Wade Miley, but they just don't have a lot of good pitchers that I like to back besides their 1 and 2. So probably going to be a slow year for the Brewers. And I think it's right. I think they are the second best team in the division, but I would fade them. I would go under 84.5.
Yeah, well, I think part of me fading the Brewers, last year we had a bit of a team ride on the Cardinals at halfway in our like all-star break podcast. We took the Cards at plus money. But I'm way out on the Brewers at all. No thanks, not for me this time. They haven't got a single batter projected to hit over 250 at this point. I know they picked up Brian Anderson, I think yesterday, actually, after I'd finished handicapping, but that doesn't move the needle. Wade Miley's an awful signing. No idea what they're thinking there. I want to see some Aaron Ashby, and sort of Wade Miley's just in there blocking him. So I'm quite like Freddie Peralta, but you're right. If he's a great word to describe Freddie Peralta. So yeah, absolutely not for me at all. Certainly not that 145, and that price makes the price on the St. Louis Cardinals, who we're going to get to in a little while. But I'd be taking the under, and I'll be fading them in lots of spots this season. Not keen at all, because we move on to the St. Louis Cardinals, a team. This is one of my favourite bets of this show that we're going to do, Dylan. The 22-1 for the World Series. They are 11-1 to win the National League and minus 110 to win the National League Central. Departures: Jose Quintana went off and joined the Mets. Acquisitions: Wilson Contreras at catcher from the Cubs. But then the extended through arbitration: Tommy Edman, Jordan Hicks, Tyler O'Neill, Jack Flaherty's another name that we keep saying the name without we ever seeing him pitch. Tyler O'Neill. This lineup has huge upside. You've got Goldie and Arenado, who just kind of anchor it down at 3 and 4. And then you've added Contreras. Lars Nootbaar is the fantasy darling at the minute. He's the one on everybody's lips. I would like one more power bat in that lineup, but the rotation pretty much is unchanged. What can Jack Flaherty do? Adam Wainwright, Mikolas, Montgomery, Flaherty, and Matz is okay. And the pen looks really good too. Ryan Helsey did well last year, close. And then you've got Giovanni Gallegos, who's really reliable. Jordan Hicks. I love Genesis Cabrera in there. So yeah, they're really interesting for these outrights at 22-11 for the World Series and the National League. But a combination of me liking this team and the fact I'm so far out on the Brewers, I love this minus 110 for them to win the league. It's a short price to tie your money up. I wouldn't be tying a fortune up to win a minus 110 shot over a 6-month season. But it's a parlay piece. I'd be looking a bit for a couple of maybe 3-team parlays or over-under parlays. And St. Louis Cardinals are going to be high on my list. Let me just look at the total there. 89.5. Yeah, I think they can reach 90 and get up to 92, 93. So yeah, I'm in on the Cards this season. And I love that minus 110 for them to win the Central, Dylan.
Yeah, I love it as well. I think they're clear-cut, just power up and down the lineup. You were mentioning the names. They got beasts. Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill, Tommy Edman, Nolan Arenado. We didn't even mention Goldschmidt. So, up and down. I think they got a stud in the catcher, Wilson Contreras. It was a guy that I wanted the Mets to go after. But Adam Wainwright, the ageless guy, Hall of Famer, Mike Mikolas, Jake Flaherty, Jordan Montgomery, I thought was one of the biggest transactions or pickups in the trade deadline last year. He just totally turned his momentum because he was kind of struggling in New York, comes over to an amazing organization, and then he thrives. So I love it. I think you could get a better price in season on them, maybe win the division, because last year how they kind of started off a little slow. Maybe you could get some plus money in season for the Cardinals, but I agree. I love them going forward, especially to win the division.
Next, at the halfway point in our 15-team preview, are the Chicago Cubs, Dylan. Interesting team to look at.
Yeah, very interesting. So for the World Series, plus 8,000, tied for 12th. National League to win that, plus 4,000, tied for 7th. And to win the NL Central, plus 550, sitting at 3rd. So free agent. They did sign Cody Bellinger, right? Nice bullpen piece. I do like him. Brad Boxberger from the Brewers. They got Jameson Taillon from the Yankees. I think that helps. Obviously, I think the biggest one is shortstop. They got Dansby Swanson. I think that's really going to help. They got Tucker Barnhart, the guy who won me my first DFS league, or not DFS league, but DFS game in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, he did. I remember.
So I'm a big Tucker Barnhart guy. I wrote that down in bold. Eric Hosmer. I thought that was a good. I don't know about Drew Smyly. They did pick him up as well. I think they upgraded the rotation with Taillon. Look at it. They got Marcus Stroman, Kyle Hendricks, who's a beast, Jameson Taillon, Justin Steele, Keegan Thompson. Keegan Thompson and Justin Steele, they fly under the radar. Then you add Drew Smyly in there as well. Like I said, they upgraded their bullpen, got Brad Boxberger. I think he's pretty good. Catcher, like I said, they got Tucker Barnhart. Jan Gomes is pretty good. Eric Hosmer is going to play first. Second base, I think they need to upgrade. They got a couple guys there, but still think they need to pair Dansby Swanson up with another bat. And Ian Happ is okay in left field. I'm not the biggest Ian Happ guy, but center field, I do like Cody Bellinger. And they got Suzuki in right field. I think you and Noah put me onto him. He's a really fun player he's a second year guy now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, second year.
Yeah, so he's very fun. He swings the bat. He plays hard. So I think they got a nice guy in the outfield as well. I think they're a little weak up the infield. Besides shortstop, I think they could use another second baseman. But I do like the additions that they made. I think they will be a better team. I think the win total reflects it, sitting at 77.5. I think if they could stay healthy with the additions to not just the bullpen, up the bats with Tucker Barnhart, Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, I think they could go over this win total. So at 77.5, I would go over that.
Yeah, I think they could make it to 500. They've got a lot of new faces in the lineup, and a lot of question marks, really. There's more questions than answers at the minute with the Cubs. I think the rotation is slightly below average, but I don't mind the lineup. Question marks. Cody Bellinger, big question mark. They picked up Trey Mancini, question mark, and Eric Hosmer, question mark. They're blocking. I was hoping to see a couple of players, actually, prospects here. Matt Mervis is being blocked by these signings of Hosmer and Mancini, which I know has annoyed a lot of fantasy players who drafted Mervis. And the other one's Brennan Davis as an outfielder. You said that they weren't hugely deep in the outfield, so I think we might see a lot of Brennan Davis. So there's two names to look out for. But yeah, I don't mind the Cubs this year. I know I picked them foolishly last year at a big price, but yeah, I've got no issue with the Cubs this year, and I think they can get over that total. Next up, we'll go to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Noah's Pittsburgh Pirates. Who's got these? Is this me or you? This might be you again.
Me.
We'll go on then. Good luck.
Quick on the Pirates. World Series +2. It's 20,000. The 16th. National League +8,000 at 9th, and dead last for the NL Central at +6,000. The Rays traded Ju-Man Choi to the Pirates for a right-hand Jack Hartman. So they got a nice bat in the lineup. They traded away their shortstop Kevin Newman to the Rays for a right-handed pitcher. They did sign my boy. I do like the first baseman Carlos Santana, the ageless guy. So he's a nice bat for them. Vince Velasquez, they got a nice right-handed pitcher. Austin Hedges, the catcher. Pittsburgh Pirates, they also traded Diego Castillo, to the Diamondbacks for another right-handed pitcher. But this is a tough spot. You know, they only have one catcher on their roster. They did upgrade first baseman. Brian Hayes, he's a nice piece at third. I do like him. I think he's a really good player. Brian Reynolds, he's good out in center field, but that's about it. I think the Pirates need to upgrade their outfield, second base, catcher, more starting pitching, bullpen. I think there's more weaknesses than strengths, I think we could say. And at 63.5, I'm sorry if Noah's listening, but I got to go under.
My main thought on this, what I've written down, is that they signed loads of old blokes. Yeah. So there's no depth at all to the lineup. In terms of the pitching, I'm interested to see what Roansy Contreras can do. and that's it. Just the fact they've got the people that you mentioned there, Santana and G-Man Choi and people like that, they can sort of roll out a consistent daily lineup, and it's not very exciting, we know that. But I just thought there's kind of a lot of good clubhouse guys in there, and I thought that could get them over the 63.5. If they do, it'll be by half a game, though, and I'll not be betting it. It's just, it is what it is in Pittsburgh, unfortunately. Next up, we will head to the Cincinnati Reds, the final team here in the NL Central. The Cincinnati Reds are 150-1 to win the World Series, 75-1 to win the league, and the NL Central at 60-1. So we've got two huge price teams here in one division. Departures. Mike Moustakas has gone. Again, the names you're rolling out are just names you would never talk about unless we're going team by team. Donovan Solano, Mike Minor. Free agent acquisitions, Will Myers, Kurt Casale, Luke Marler. They traded for Kevin Newman and Luke Weaver as well, starting pitcher. So the lineup, they've got a lot of batting averages between 230 and 250 in there. But perversely, they've got quite a lot of players that I like. So I didn't know what to do with this, because if you go Jonathan India 2, followed by Joey Votto, Tyler Stevenson, Myers, Jake Fraley, and then Spencer Steer at 7, who's the top prospect. I actually quite like all of them. So, yeah, they inspired mixed feelings in me. The rotation, I think Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo can win them some games. And Graham Ashcraft, they'll follow them as 3. We liked him last year. And then you've got Weaver and Luis Sessa. So the bullpen isn't great. I do like Riva San Martin. I think they could have a few good days here, Cincinnati. I think they could be quite a streaky team. I'd be taking the over 64.5, just because, like I say, I was kind of mixed up, but the stats didn't inspire me. But as an eye test and a gut reaction, I like that 2-7. And I don't mind 3 of the 5 in the rotation. So I think they can get over 64.5. Maybe that could be my parlay piece with the St. Louis Cardinals, Dylan.
Yeah, I do like the Reds over instead of the Pirates over, just because I do like their lineup. Jonathan India at second, I like. Joey Votto, you mentioned. Spencer Steer, Jose Barrero at short. They have some outfielders as well. But you were mentioning, I think the one weakness that they do have is the back half of their rotation and their bullpen. You know, I do like Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. We used to back them in like very situational spots last year.
Yeah.
Graham Ashcraft was another one. So I think this team's going to play a lot of overs. Maybe not at home because it's a big ballpark, but I think them and the Pirates are going to play a lot of overs, I think.
Noah, hello Noah. Noah's popped up in the chat. He was lurking, like peeping through a gap in the curtains, and he's pointed out that it wasn't Tucker Barnhart, you Burke. It was Kyle Tucker that won you that DFS contest. Slightly different players, Dylan.
Oh yeah.
How can he? He's got his Tuckers mixed up. It's pre-season. It's pre-season. Dylan's in mid-season
for the World Baseball Classic.
Yes, don't mix your Tuckers up. Okay, National League West we'll go to, starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks, World Series 80-1, 40-1 for the league, and 40-1 to win the division. The Arizona Diamondbacks are my boys, Dylan, for this year. They had Zach Davis re-signed for a year. That's a terrible signing. Really, really bad signing. Evan Longoria came in. A couple of relief pitchers as well, Miguel Castro and Scott McGough from Japan. But they were mainly busy with trades, the D-backs, and did all right, you know. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Gabe Moreno came in from Toronto. Kyle Lewis is there as well. So the lineup for me, he's got lots of upside. Corbin Carroll, projected 18 homers and 18 steals. So if you're drafting any teams, have a look at Corbin Carroll. He's going to lead off as well, I think, maybe. Jake McCarthy in there as well, upside. The rotation was sneaky good last year. In fact, it got to the point where it wasn't even sneaky good. It was just good. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. Then you've got Mad Bum Davis, which I'm annoyed about. And Ryan Nelson following that up. But they have got other options as well. And this is why I'm so annoyed about the re-signing of Davis. They've got Dre Jameson. They've got Tommy Henry. Actually, Tommy Henry, I think, was one of Noah's guys last year. And they could ease Davis out of that rotation. Gabe Moreno, the catch is interesting. I'll tell you why. That the new rules, Dylan, the pick-off rules, 2 pick-off attempts over to first base. You can throw over twice. Arizona relied really heavily last year on pick-off attempts. I think of all the pitchers in MLB, 3 of the top 5 for throwing over were Arizona Diamondbacks. So this signing of Gabe Moreno, they obviously had a bit of a problem with Carson Kelly, whether or not he was struggling to hold the runners. So we'll have to see how the D-backs hold the runners. And this is why I think Gabe Moreno could be so important for them. I mentioned to you before we started that I'd picked a little winner on the football tonight. I took the under 1.5 goals. And I was going to use some of my winnings to live bet something on the show here, Dylan. So I'm doing that right now. I've got the division winner, National League West, the Arizona Diamondbacks, is going in my book here. Wow. £5.80, because I like to level it up. £5.80 to win £197.20. Place bet. There we go. The Diamondbacks become my first bet of the season. Live degeneracy. You going to talk me out of the D-backs, Dill?
No, they were one of my favorite teams last year, and I think they're going to be better, especially on the pitching staff. They have great pitching staff. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Mad Bum, he's the ageless wonder as well. Zach Davies, he's good. Yeah, I do like Miguel Castro. They picked up in the bullpen as well. Ketel Marte, he's a very good second baseman. I don't know. What are your thoughts about bringing in Evan Longoria? I thought it was kind of weird. He's kind of old.
He's not kind of old. He's fucking nearly my age. He's really old.
I do like Nick Abad. He's pretty good at shortstop. You were talking about there, besides Corbin Carroll, who plays right, what are your thoughts on their left field and center field? I don't know too much about them. I know it's Alex Thompson, right? Or Thomas?
Alex Thomas was great last year. He came up quite early on, made quite a lot of fanfare, and he did a good job. I'm just dragging it up now. I liked Alex Thomas. He's one of these bits and bobs players. He does a little bit of everything. Corbin Carroll will play centre field. 22 years old, top prospect. And as I said in my handicap, they're projected 18 homers and 18 steals. And then Jake McCarthy's the other one. Projected for 27 stolen bases, Jake McCarthy. He'll play right field. He's only 25 years of age as well. Again, it's the upside that I like there. Christian Walker's there hitting clean up now. Christian Walker, he was getting a lot of chat in the Discord channel, actually, in the sportsgamblingpodcast.com. The MLB Discord channel, there was some people picking out Christian Walker as possible home run leader. Interesting. I don't know if Alex Thomas is injured, maybe, because I don't see him on roster resource, whether or not they've actually dropped him to the minors and he's being blocked possibly. But I don't mind it at all. It's young guys and it's upside. Yeah, obviously it's a really tough division, but we're going to get to the Dodgers and the Padres in a little while. And part of when we handicap them, we'll kind of explain my thoughts on the D-backs. So we'll move on to the LA Dodgers. And the LA Dodgers is Dylan's team. So tell us all about it, Dill.
So LA Dodgers World Series plus 750, tied for third. National League tied for first with the Mets at plus 400. They are minus 140, first to win the NL West. Don't advise to place any bets, especially laying money tied up in all that time. Free agent additions. They signed right-hander Shelby Miller. I thought that was a good signing. They re-signed Clayton Kershaw. They got Jason Hayward as well for right field. They signed Noah Syndergaard. They get their DH from Boston, JD Martinez. They did relieve Trevor Bauer. I think that was the right move. Do you think any teams will claim him for the minimum, or do you think teams are just going to stay away because of the bad image it brings?
Sorry, you got me when I had a mouthful of cheese there. I don't think anyone will touch him.
Yeah, I don't either. A lot of teams were saying that they might have interest, but I think his days are done, to be honest. But hey, it was
Totally
just a
agree.
quick question that I wanted to ask. But Dodgers, they're another team with a great rotation. They bring back Kershaw, adding Syndergaard, I think helps. Adding Walker Buehler coming back from his injury, I think that helps as well. Julio Urias, he's a nice player. They're loaded at the catcher position as well. With Will Smith, Austin Barnes. First base, you got Freddie Freeman. Max Muncy will play second probably. But they did trade for that guy, Galvin Lux, to play shortstop. They lost Trey Turner, but Miguel Vargas will probably play third. Left field, Chris Taylor. I like him. Mookie Betts in right. He's a stud. I think they added a couple nice pieces like JD Martinez for the DH as well. Their offense is kind of stacked. The only thing we got to see is their bullpen and the left side of the infield. We'll see how Gavin Lux does at shortstop, but their win total 96.5 seems high, but every year the Dodgers win 100 games. So I would not bet my money against that. So at minus 140, I don't really like it. Maybe you could get a better in-season number, but I do think they are the best team in the division.
See, I'm not convinced about the Dodgers at all. There's been loads of churn. There's been a load of incomings and outgoings. Dozens and dozens of players have come through the system. But I think it's left them weaker on both sides of the ball. I don't like the bottom half of the lineup. In fact, from three down, I'm all right with Betts, Freeman, and Will Smith. After that, Matt Muncy, I can say JD Martinez, has he improved them? I don't think he have. And then James Outman, Chris Taylor, Trace Thompson. These names are doing nothing for me. There's not much on the bench. And just the same with the rotation, really. They lost Tyler Anderson. They've added Noah Syndergaard, who's he's not a busted flush, but he doesn't go deep into games anymore unless they can work some magic with him. And I'm not convinced about Tony Gonsolin. He's going to have to replicate what he did last year, and I don't know if he can. So the 90, did you say about 96 or 94?
I have 96.5.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get me wrong, they're going to be good, but yeah, I'm not really having them in because I've got the D-backs winning a few more games. I'd be taking the unders here, but yeah, not convinced by the Dodgers at all. Next up, San Francisco Giants, who are 33-1 for the World Series, 16-1 to win the league, and 12-1 to win this division. Their big departure was Carlos Rodon. Longoria, we just mentioned, off to the D-backs. Brandon Belt went. Tommy La Stella. So they ditched quite a lot of old blokes. Picked up Mitch Haniger. Michael Conforto was an interesting one. We've seen him with the Mets, but missed last year through injury. Arms, they picked up Sean Manaea, who I like, Ross Stripling. And then Taylor Rogers in the pen, who will join his twin brother, Tyler Rogers. Logan Webb extended as well. So the lineup remains quite old, even though they did shed a few oldies as well. It's just very average, really. I don't know where the upside comes from. Michael Conforto, possibly. And then the other one is, can Joey Bart be anything? There was a lot of chat about him a couple of seasons ago. He hasn't really done it yet. One more chance for Joey Bart. The rotation looks above average. I like it. Webb, Cobb, Manaea, Stripling, and Wood. And then they've still got Tony Disco there who can come in. I like him. The pen looks okay too. Camilo Doval, both Rogers, Scott Alexander. They're going to be okay, but they are in with the two powerhouse teams and my Diamondbacks. So just not for me, really. They're just going to fly under the radar and have a nothing season. The line at 78.5 is probably just about right. It was a lot of shoulder shrugging inside when I was looking at the Giants. Again, a bit like the first team I handicapped the Braves. They didn't inspire anything one way or another in me, Dylan.
Yeah, nothing really that moves the needle. I do like their rotation. Logan Webb, Alex Cobb, even Anthony DeSclafani, I think, is pretty good. Alex Wood, Ross Stripling from the Blue Jays. We'll see about Sean Manaea, because every time the Oakland Athletics wind up trading their pitchers, they wind up not doing as well. So I'm not a big believer in Sean Manaea, to be honest. But Yeah, nothing really moves the needle. Yeah, they got JD Davis as well. They picked up last year. I think maybe he'll have a good year. I like Wilmer Flores, a little biased. Brandon Crawford's been a stud for years. I like Mitch Haniger, I thought was a good pickup in left field. They got Michael Conforto, but he'll probably play right. But yeah, nothing really moves the needle. They got Jock Peterson, but kind of an old lineup, I would argue. They got kind of an old lineup. And what was their win total at? It's not right in front of me.
78.5.
Seems about right. They kind of had a bad year. Maybe some positive regression comes. So maybe, but it's a probably stay away from me. I want no business with the Giants this year.
Yeah, exactly the same, mate. The penultimate team, Noah, that we're going to look at. I know I'm talking to Dylan, but Noah didn't know what the word penultimate meant last season, so always have to drop that in for him. The San Diego Padres. Dylan, tell us how the Friars will go.
Yes, sir. The Padres World Series odds plus 1,000, tied for fourth with the Braves. National League plus 450, tied for second with the Braves as well. NL West second at plus 140. You know, I think the biggest signing in free agent, they got their shortstop Xander Bogaerts. They got a nice bat in Matt Carpenter. Hopefully he'll have a better year. Seth Lugo will be interesting. They signed him. I don't know if they're going to work him in as a starter. He's always mentioned he wanted to start with the Mets, but he was kind of a bullpen piece kind of guy. But at the top of the lineup, Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell. I'm not the biggest on Blake Snell, but Nick Martinez is pretty good. Then you got Seth Lugo. I love Josh Hader, the closer. So they got some good pieces. Catcher spot, Austin Nola is good. Jake Cronenworth at first, I like as well. I think the infield is stacked. They got Kim at second. I think that's a good Manny Machado at third. The infield is stacked. I guess Cronenworth would be a play at first base, but outfield pretty solid as well. They got Juan Soto, Trent Grisham. I like him as well. I want to see if they move Tatis Jr. to the outfield when his suspension is over, because they did sign Xander to shortstop. Fernando Tatis, he does make a lot of errors at short. He's an exciting player, but he's the kind of guy that they say he could play anywhere in the outfield, in the infield. So it'd be very interesting to see where he moves in the lineup and in the field. And their win total sitting around 93.5. You know, I hit on the under last year, went up a little. It was at 90, it's at 93.5 now. I got to continue to go my under. So they'll win 93, 92 games, the Padres.
Yeah, I think it's Matt Carpenter who'll be most at risk in left field when Tatis returns. But yeah, again, a lot of movement in this Padres organization. And again, concerns about the age, which a lot of that comes from Nelson Cruz and Matt Carpenter, who's 37. But the rotation's kind of incomplete as well, because you mentioned Seth Lugo. I don't think he's a starter. I think that ship has sailed. He's 33 years old now, currently slated to be their SP5. And I'm not really buying it. I think there's got to be more to come from the Padres in terms of players. There's got to be another one or two to come in terms of trades, because I don't think they can go in. Obviously, yeah, they've got Tatis to come back, but I don't think they can go in like this, because that is going to take me under that number. So I'd be leaning under with no movement, but I'd be interested to see what moves they've got left in them before the season starts for the San Diego Padres. Okay, finally is the Colorado Rockies. We definitely didn't save the best till last. The World Series, 125-1, 66-1 to win the league, and 150-1 to win this division. Departures, Jose Iglesias, Chad Kuhl, one of our guys from last year, and Garrett Hampson. Free agent acquisition, Harold Castro. I don't mind him, actually. He's not very exciting. He does bat for average. The lineup actually looks okay. The batting average is good. There's not much power in there, but Bryant, McMahon, CJ Crone, Charlie Blackmon. Then you've got Grichuk, Brendan Rodgers. Don't mind that at all, really. A little bit like the Cincinnati setup from earlier on. The rotation, however, this was the weakest rotation I've looked at over the 2 episodes, over the 2 weeks. You're looking at Marquez, Kyle Freeland, Jose Urena, Ryan Feldner, Austin Gomber. Projected ERA, every single one of them is over 5. So, yeah, these are daily over candidates. When the season starts, let's just keep backing the overs because I think we'll score some runs and you've got the park factor. And then all of these starters and the bullpen's horrible as well. So my final thoughts on this that I have written down are lots of runs, no bets. So I've got nothing starting the season with them. Total is 68.5, which is don't mind that. It's up there. They're not in the tier with these teams hovering around the 60 mark. I think they could go over. They were good at home last year. They were competitive. They need another arm or two though, because they're going to lead the league in losing games 13-11 is what they're going to lead the league in, Dylan.
Yeah. I like Chris Bryant in left field, but other than that, and maybe CJ Crone, he's good at first, but this is a team I'm going to fade all season. Maybe not at home because they are pretty good, but like you said, maybe an over team, especially if we get a low total. I think a lot of runs could be scored. Their bullpen is atrocious, like you said, especially in the division. Maybe that's why it looks so bad, their rotation, because of how good the rotation is in the division. But they have a low win total for a reason, and I see no way this team is bad. So I can't back them anyway.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So Dylan, that has got us to the end of our National League futures and news. So the 15 teams we've looked at then, is a one bet, one total, or one divisional play, World Series play, anything like that that would stand out if you were going to have some balls like me and just put some live £5.38 or whatever I just put on. What's your pick?
I do like your Arizona play for the division. I think there's a lot of value there. Yeah, biased, but I probably take the Mets, not to win the NL East at plus 135 because the Mets will Met and they'll probably lose the division. But National League plus 400, maybe there's some value, but I got some bad teams with me. Maybe you want to take a flyer on the Phillies as well, like they had that run last year. They're definitely capable with that lineup and their 3 rotation guys. Brewers, I'm out of. Maybe the Cubs at plus 550, maybe they could sneak, but Cardinals are really good in the Central. I don't want to back the Pirates. There's no value in the Dodgers, and I think the Padres choke in the playoffs. So I didn't really leave you guys with a ton, but maybe the Mets or the Phillies. I think you could throw some flyers on.
Yeah, I think for me the standout is St. Louis to win the NL Central at minus 110. But like I say, you'd be looking for a parlay piece. I do like the Mets. I would put the Mets in there at a price of plus 135. And then as far as the totals, I'm in on Arizona, obviously. I'm in on Cincinnati. And I'm out on the Brewers. That total at 84.5. So that would be my play so far. And that's it. Dylan, thank you very much for joining us. Have you had fun talking a bit of baseball? It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been too long. Can't wait to get back into it. World Baseball Classic, under 50 days. Final rosters will be announced in next month in February. So be on the lookout for that. Yeah, can't wait. Spring training in less than a month. A lot of teams went out and spent this season. So I'm interested to see how what final product they put out on the field. And can't wait to get back with you boys.
Yeah, it's been a proper hot stove this year. I think this has probably been the most exciting one in kind of my short 7 or 8 years. Life has been an MLB follower. So it's the best one I can remember. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Thank you, Dylan. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks if you joined us live. Usual place to like, rate and review. Don't forget to go and have a listen to the Premier League Gambling Podcast. Never been a better time to come and join the ranks of Newcastle United supporters. We are only heading in one direction. World Baseball Classic coming up and spring training. Everything will be covered here on the MLB Gambling Podcast with myself and Dylan, and Moonaf and Noah are chomping at the bit as well. Good luck with any bets that you place. Enjoy the NFL playoffs at the weekend. And until then, we'll see you down the road. Cheers.